At the local public pool, Manager McGrady is putting up signs to inform everyone that the pool will be closed for the upcoming holiday weekend. Amidst the crowd of swimmers, Bree is thoroughly enjoying herself, but she takes a break when it's time to check her blood glucose levels. Before diving back into the water, she contemplates whether she should remove her diamond ring. Simultaneously, in the lost and found area, janitor Clara is attempting to steal money from forgotten wallets. McGrady catches her red-handed, leading him to regret speaking well of her to her parole officer. Despite his regrets, he decides to terminate her employment, although she is required to finish her shift. In the parking lot, Bree's sister Jonna sits in her car, contemplating whether to join the pool activities or not. After much thought, she decides to stow her phone in the glove box and join her sister. Jonna, having a history of rehab, hasn't spent much time with Bree lately, making the sisters swim together a joyous occasion. Initially in a bad mood due to her challenging home situation and the kids running amok, Bree convinces Jonna to let go and have fun. The remainder of the afternoon unfolds positively for the sisters, enjoying their time in the pool until McGrady instructs them to leave. When Jonna points out that the pool is supposed to be open until 7, McGrady explains the early closure for the holiday weekend and reminds her to read the posted signs. As the sisters exit the pool and dry off, Bree realizes she wants to show Jonna her ring, but it's nowhere to be found in her bag. Despite McGrady urging them to hurry up and everyone else having left, the sisters pay no heed. Jonna checks the pool and notices the ring stuck in the metal grill. Bree dives in to retrieve it, but struggles to pull it out. Seeing her sister's plight, Jonna jumps in to help, creating a heartwarming moment of collaboration between the two. At that moment, McGrady takes a final glance at the deserted pool area and, seeing no one around, begins the process of closing up. Meanwhile, the sisters are still grappling with the stubborn ring. In an unexpected turn, Jonna's hair gets entangled in the process, diverting their attention from the slowly advancing fiberglass cover over the pool. By the time they realize it, it's too late, and they find themselves trapped. In a state of panic, the sisters desperately cry out for help, pounding on the pool cover. Unfortunately, McGrady has already left, unaware of their predicament. After a heated debate on what to do next, Jonna starts feeling nauseous and jumps to the conclusion that McGrady deliberately abandoned them. Bree, the more level-headed of the two, manages to calm her down, and together they swim to the middle of the pool, attempting to lift the cover. However, it proves to be a solid fiberglass barrier, refusing to yield. Bree, determined to find a solution, suggests checking for weak spots along the seals and edges. Their search yields nothing until they stumble upon a pair of swimming trunks. Eventually, they discover a condensation hole in the cover, but their attempts to move it are futile. Thinking on her feet, Bree removes a plastic cover from a hole in the pool wall and, using it as a makeshift tool, tries to saw through the fiberglass. As Bree works on the solution, Jonna continues to voice her complaints, sparking an argument. Resentment simmers as Jonna expresses her frustration that Bree moved on during her time in rehab. In turn, Bree suspects Jonna of tossing the ring into the pool out of jealousy. The tension escalates and an enraged Bree dives back into the water, successfully retrieving the ring from the grill. Meanwhile, Jonna takes over the sawing, but accidentally cuts her hand in the process. Upon her return, Bree suggests that the heavy grill might break the fiberglass cover. However, she lacks the strength to remove it. Jonna, refusing to assist, initiates another argument. Just as the tension peaks, they hear a noise. Bree's phone is ringing. It's her fiancé David calling, leaving a message about attending a company dinner and coming home late. The realization hits that they can't rely on David to notice their absence anytime soon. Frustrated and desperate, Bree plunges into the water once more, attempting to remove the grill, only to find her efforts fruitless. As the night descends outside, hours pass within the building and the lights dim. Bree hears her phone ringing with David's calls, while Jonna continues her complaints, this time expressing her dislike for David. Suddenly, Jonna notices Bree's worsening condition and inquires about the problem. Bree, compelled to share, confesses that she was diagnosed with diabetes during Jonna's time in rehab. She urgently needs to take her insulin shot to prevent a potential diabetic coma. Meanwhile, Clara returns to the building, not exerting much effort on her chores. Back with the sisters, they take turns sawing the hole, focused on their escape. Jonna observes burnt marks on Bree's arm and seizes the opportunity to inquire about the day their father died, as she has no recollection of it. Attempting to evade the question, Bree eventually discloses a painful truth. That fateful night, their drunken father inadvertently caused a fire that claimed his life. Bree's attempt to wake him resulted in her arm getting burnt. In a twist of events, Clara enters the pool room upon hearing Bree's phone ringing. Initially intending to steal it, she realizes the sisters are in distress. Pretending to offer assistance, Clara asks a few questions while scheming to empty Bree's wallet. However, she halts her plan upon noticing the security cameras. Clara heads to the control room, turning off the cameras and restoring the lights before returning to the pool. Now feigning concern, Clara requests Bree's phone password, claiming she wants to help. Bree reluctantly provides the information, but instead of calling the police, Clara plays David's messages. Jonna, angered, hurls insults at Clara, prompting her to reveal her desperate situation. Having trouble finding employment after prison, Clara needs money and proposes to save the sisters if Bree provides her ATM PIN. Despite their initial resistance, Clara resorts to turning off the lights and heater, threatening to let them freeze through the night. Faced with desperation, Bree finally discloses the PIN and Clara leaves with her wallet. However, Clara doesn't restore the heater, leaving the sisters to huddle together in an attempt to endure the cold night. As hours pass, the cold becomes unbearable for Bree and her body aches. Jonna, feeling the urgency to escape, attempts to remove the pool grill but is paralyzed by fear and doesn't even get close to it. Upon resurfacing, Jonna discovers Bree has fallen asleep and hastily wakes her up. Feeling guilty, Jonna blames herself for their predicament, calling herself useless. Bree, however, reassures her and insists they should talk about their issues. Returning to the task of sawing the hole with the makeshift shard, Jonna claims it's the only thing keeping her warm. Bree urges them to open up, and Jonna confesses her past struggles. She reveals her tendency to see monsters everywhere and her previous attempts at self-harm, stemming from the abuse inflicted by their father. The haunting memory of their father's voice still lingers in Jonna's mind. Suddenly, the sisters are startled by an appearance on the hole, but it's just Clara. Angered by the meager amount in Bree's bank account, Clara dismisses the sisters' problems as ordinary and asserts that the world owes them nothing. Threatening to leave them to die, Clara heads to the control room. Desperate, Jonna sharpens the plastic shard against the pool wall and feigns a breakdown. Pretending to have something important to share, she lures Clara closer, only to stab her with the shard when she approaches. Clara screams in pain and checks her wound in the bathroom. Furious, she decides to seek revenge by activating the automatic pool cleaning system, filling the room with suffocating chlorine. Struggling to breathe, the sisters attempt to block the strong jets with their hands and the swimming trunks they found earlier, but the force is too much. Bree loses consciousness and begins to sink, forcing Jonna to push her up and hold her until she wakes. With difficulty breathing, the sisters plead with Clara, making her realize the severity of the situation. Clara finally turns off the cleaning system, sparing them from further harm. Following the ordeal, Clara requests Bree's ring in exchange for their freedom. Despite Jonna's objections, Bree, against her better judgment, hands over the ring. However, Clara doesn't immediately release them, stating she'll do so at her discretion, and plunges the room into darkness once more. Shortly after, the pool cover starts to move, and the distant wail of sirens becomes audible. David bursts in, driven by the sound, intent on rescuing Bree. In the confusion, he doesn't spot Jonna, assuming she must be in distress underwater. Overwhelmed with despair, Bree cries, feeling too feeble to save her sister, only to wake suddenly and realize it was all a dream. Upon waking, Bree finds Jonna contemplating using the plastic shard for self-harm. Thankfully, Bree persuades her out of it, pledging unwavering support. The sisters reconcile, apologizing to each other and sharing a heartfelt hug. Meanwhile, Clara, trying on the ring, is interrupted by a barrage of messages on Bree's phone from David. His last message mentions calling 911, prompting Clara to return to the pool to conclude the deal. In an effort to appease Clara, the sisters pretend that the ordeal happened for a reason, apologizing for labeling her a monster. Touched, Clara tears up and heads to the control room to input the code, only to find it doesn't work. Distraught, she conveys the bad news to the sisters, but refuses to involve the police, fearing a return to prison as it nearly killed her the first time. Defeated, Clara leaves Bree's belongings on the benches and exits, bringing an unexpected end to the troubling situation. As time ticks away, Jonna persists in swimming to keep her body active and warm. Meanwhile, Bree's strength wanes, and when Jonna checks on her, Bree, feeling dizzy, makes a startling confession. Bree reveals that she was aware of their father's actions towards Jonna and, disgusted by it, took a drastic step. On the night of the fire, their father was awake and attempting to move, but Bree held him down, ensuring he perished in the flames, believing it would liberate them from his monstrous ways. Touched by Bree's sacrifice, Yonah becomes even more determined to save her sister. Leaving Bree to rest on the buoys, Yonah dives back in to work on removing the grill. After resurfacing for breath, she devises a plan using the swimming trunks from earlier to protect her hands and successfully pulls the grill free. However, upon reaching the surface, Yonah discovers Bree unconscious. Panicking, Yonah administers mouth-to-mouth and thankfully revives her. With the grill now in hand, Yonah uses it to strike the fiberglass cover over the hole, causing it to crack and eventually break. Though the opening is not very large, Yonah proceeds to break the pieces further with her arm, injuring herself in the process. Next, she drags the unconscious Bree out of the pool. Once out, Yonah rushes to Bree's bag, retrieves her medicine, and administers it through an injection into Bree's leg. After a nerve-wracking pause, Bree finally awakens for good. At that critical moment, Clara returns, brandishing a gun out of fear that the sisters might report her to the police. Yonah, expressing heartfelt sentiments about Bree being her only anchor in this world, manages to convince Clara to lower the gun and return the ring. Using Bree's phone, Yonah calls the police and instructs Clara to leave before their arrival. Moments later, Bree regains consciousness on a stretcher. After the paramedics attend to her, Yonah reveals that she has recovered the ring, declaring that they have finally conquered the monster. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and enable notifications to watch more videos like this.